Rarely has mankind hesitated to eradicate the creatures that stand in the path of his conquest. If we find ritual extirpation, undesirable motives from another world, the rest must be destroyed. Is it possible that our dark past watch them and pray?
Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, government agents, the stewardess who gave peanuts to Ted Cruz on his flight to Cancun, and anybody who might be listening. This is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. I'm your host, Tasker, and we have Jesus Christ. Okay, you guys can't see this, but Nick, you is wearing a looks like something you would wear for Kwanzaa.
It's a dashiki, man. Look at this thing.
A dashiki, huh? Yeah. Obviously, you can't because this is an audio-only medium, but of course, Nick and I, we have a live stream of each other while we record this. And Nick, what do we owe this pleasure of this very fanciful dress that you've put on for us today?
All right. First off, two things. We got two reasons why I'm wearing a dashiki right now. Three. First one is I've been watching a lot of Chappelle's Show. It's on Netflix now.
Right.
Second is by the time people are listening to this, it will be March, but technically it is still February right now, and I'm celebrating Black History Month the only way I know how, through emulation.
And surprisingly, shockingly, not as offensive as I expected.
Yeah, I gave you a build-up, man. You probably thought I was going to come out with blackface or something, dude, but no.
It was okay. Just to everybody at home or in your car listening, Nick told me, he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to appear on camera until we start recording because I'm going to do something to celebrate Black History Month." And I swear to God, I thought he was going to show up in like blackface or something worse. I don't know, but Nick, color me surprised.
That's first off, that's racist. It's African American me surprised.
As soon as I said it, I was like, here we go.
But you got to admit, man, it looks pretty good, right?
It doesn't look half bad. And I don't really know any of the context and all that stuff, so you might actually be completely scot-free on this one.
I don't know the context either. I don't know if that makes me racist or if I'm just ignorant. But look,
what's it called?
Celebrate
Dashiki?
The way I know how. It's a dashiki. Yeah. The only thing I know about dashikis is they usually wear them for kind of bigger ceremonies like weddings, but by they, I don't know who I'm talking about.
Interesting. I'm looking, it's mostly West African.
Mm-hmm.
It can be formal or informal. Popularized and claimed by communities in the African diaspora, whatever that, I don't know what that means, especially African American. So in a way, it could be considered like, what's the word? Kind of stepping on other people's culture, just like a little bit. But I guess that really varies from person to person and how they feel. But the fact is they can't see you, so they can't prove it. We could be just making this up.
Exactly. But hey, I'm doing it out of love, man, and because this episode is all about love, bro. So I'm doing it out of love for my fellow humans. Black History Month. Remember, we didn't know how to celebrate Black History Month. We thought the best way to celebrate it was to not do an episode at all, which we didn't. But this is the way I'm doing it, man. In a dashiki that smells like goats, fresh out of the package, colorful. I feel like, Black Panther right now, dude. He's got those dope clothings that are obviously like a futuristic version of a dashiki.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I'm right there, man. I got my gold chain, which I wear every day anyway, but it kind of just goes with it,
Of course, yeah.
So, hey, happy Black History Month from Dashiki Nick, all right?
Dashiki Nick, huh? That's where we're going to go with this. Nick threw up the biggest shrug I'd ever seen in my entire life. I feel every week I need to add more to the file of the damage control file when people come out and and it's time for us to get canceled. It's going to happen honestly, no matter what we do, even if aside from all the racial stuff, like we would have gotten canceled for like, what was it? Somebody, you're going to love this, Nick. There was a thing, I guess there's like in Twitter, you can, I forgot what it was called, but they were like shitting on somebody for disagreeing that there's like, it's like a tone warning or something like that you put at the end of your tweet to show like kind of like if you're being sarcastic or if you're being realistic, and somebody on Twitter, some famous person that nobody likes or some influencer that everybody hates was like, oh, that shit's kind of extra. And everyone's like, you ableist piece of shit. You da da da. It's like, I mean, like, okay, it's like this is a really hard topic, and I don't want to get too much into it because we have a whole episode to get through today, and this is not the point of our podcast. I mean, also keep in mind if you're listening to this now and you're thinking about sending that tweet to cancel us, we are a conspiracy podcast. What did you expect? Like, dude, go cancel somebody who actually like influences small kids. We just influence basement dwellers and like attractive people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good save. Good backtrack, by the way. But also, you're right. We are a conspiracy podcast, comedy podcast.
Yes.
Emphasis on the comedy. I am fucking tired. I am sick and tired of comedians being canceled for jokes. All right. Do you want me to start just doing jokes about Teletubbies? Is that what you guys want? Like, is that what society wants from me? Or can I make jokes about things that are actually funny without people breathing down my neck on Twitter,
Yeah, see, I don't have a problem with people being upset and disagreeing and being like, hey, you're fucking scum for thinking that. Like, oh, wow, you really just don't think of anybody else but yourself. And okay, you're allowed to do that. That's okay. I just think it's kind of fucked up that you can get your entire career ruined over it. Like, I don't know. I think we're giving too much power to 14-year-olds who can say anything online. And I'm going to get canceled just for saying that. And that's the part of the quote they're not going to include in the quote.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope out there, and I refuse to ski down that slope, homie. I'm smooth sailing. I'm saying what I want to say. I'm not afraid of getting canceled because you have to have an established career to be canceled in the first place. So fuck yourselves. Yes, I'll come out in a dashiki, but I'm doing it out of love. I'm doing it out of respect. I'm not doing it. Yeah, I made a bit out of it, but it's like a 2-bird, 1-stone situation. Yeah, I'm wearing a dashiki. Let's make a joke about it. But at the same time, it's Black History Month. Let's pour one out for the homies.
Right.
So it's like, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to silence myself.
Right.
And they can't silence us because we're a comedy podcast, and we give fair warning every few episodes. Hey, man, this is going to be offensive.
Right.
And we own up to it.
Yeah, you kind of know what you're getting into. And, and I hope you, the listener, know exactly what you're getting into. And the hope, and okay, maybe this would be maybe I need to delete the damage control folder because maybe we need a new plan of attack for when our inevitable cancellation happens. Is, we're just going to keep it going because everyone out there who listens to us, they listen to us knowing exactly what we're about. And you know what? What better way to fight it than to just not let it get to us and just keep it going? Because even if we get canceled, I have a feeling that there's some people out there who, if they really did like the show, they would probably keep listening anyways, despite what somebody said on Twitter. I hope.
Exactly. And that's what it's showing so far. We have a very fun, loyal fan base, and they know that it's satire.
They're
for
cool
the
people.
most part, right? I say some things that I believe, like how the furries should be gathered up and systematically executed.
But see, our listeners, they understand. That's why they listen. And that's why they haven't shut us off and called us fucking Neanderthals and reported us to Apple.
Yeah. What is that, dude? What's Tim Cook going to do about our podcast? You know what I mean? Like, so look, guys, the point of this whole thing is say what you want to say. Just don't hate other people, man. Like you can hate whoever you want. Just be kind of quiet about it. Don't be all fucking Westboro Baptist Church about it. Don't be all fucking Ku Klux Klan about it. If you hate people for some reason, keep that to yourself.
Right.
But as far as jokes go, say what you want to say, joke about what you want to joke about, because we all know one language as a people, and that, my friends, is laughter.
Mm-hmm. Well, one could argue too, and I just got to say one final point, we'll move on to horoscopes, is, what? We know what we're about here. We're about making jokes, but, we love everyone who comes and listens. We have a good time. If you ask me, the Twitter cancel police, that's all hate because they're just hating. They're doing it because they hate. We may say offensive things, but we're not doing it because we hate people.
Exactly. Look, if we hated people, look, okay, I want you guys a little bit of background. Tasker and I grew up in a very progressive forward thinking, not only generation, but geographic area. So
SoCal.
I'm SoCal. So I'm not saying that we're like Jesus or anything, but we're pretty open minded when it comes to cultures, races, extraterrestrial beings, all that kinds of shit. You know?
Oh yeah, well, it's like we barely even think about the human population. We're too busy thinking about what's coming next for us.
Yeah, we're too busy thinking about how my butt's going to be used as a water weenie. You know?
All the creative ways they're going to use cheese graters on our wieners and stuff like that.
And they'll say it's for science, right? They'll say it's for galactic exploration. I was like, yeah, exploring my ass, literally, you know?
There was that one SNL sketch where it was like 3 people got abducted, and there was the one who just like 2 of them had like these like holy experiences. The other one was just like getting like molested and was just like smoking a cigar. Just my favorite quote from that whole thing is like, now you think there was like a point to this, or maybe there was like, nah, I'm pretty sure this one was off the books.
Yeah. Dude, Kate McKinnon did such a fucking good job in that sketch, man. She's great.
Hilarious. Well, I'm glad we segued back to aliens. I feel like normally we just get caught up in politics and then we get into more trouble. But this time, we are on it today. I'm feeling good. You're doing your best to not appropriate anyone, but having a good time doing it.
I mean, this is pretty goddamn cultural appropriation right here, man. This is something. It takes balls to wear this. I'm not going to go to the grocery store to the dashiki, but I'll wear it around the house, I guess.
Right. I mean, is it comfortable? Looks like it breathes well.
Oh, it's nice, dude. It's really nice. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll see. And you know what? The more you know. And like I said, nobody can prove it. So you don't know. We don't know. Nick might not even be wearing it, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyways, we should move forward because we got a big old part 2 episode of Galactic Space Pirate. I don't know. Whatever the fuck we're talking about.
Hey, save your fucking your sarcasm for later in the episode when we can yell at each other, okay?
Fine. But we should look to the future. What is in the stars for you today?
All right, let's see. Cancer, if there's something interesting that you want to try, go for it. Adventure brings
you.
Look at me. I'm already trying it, guys.
Good God.
Adventure brings excitement, creative flow, and energy, and these are essential to you. Yours is a highly artistic nature. Continual stimulation is required to keep your psyche healthy. Experience something new today, even if it's just a walk to a place you've never been. It will give you the adrenaline you need.
Wow. Relatable, it sounds like.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying all kinds of stuff for my art, dude. My art is comedy, and I'm wearing a dashiki, and it's going pretty well so far.
Well, I'm glad you're comfortable and feel proud of yourself. So, of course, if you, the listener, have anything to say about it, let us know through an email. That would be great.
Yeah, and if you're mad, I'll just send you pictures of me in it, okay?
Yeah.
And then you'll change your mind.
Defacing your culture even further.
All right.
Man.
My sex is a 3 out of 5. Vibe is a 3 out of 5. Hustle's a measly 2 out of 5. And my success, though, is a 4 out of 5.
So who knows? Maybe we have some listeners out there who are like, you know what? Fuck yeah. We are glad you're wearing that dashiki because you just seem so successful at it. And you're pulling it off.
Pulling it off, man. And to them, I say thank you for the support. This is my coming out. Everybody's identifying as everything these days, right? So I have friends who identify as who are male that identify as female. I have vice versa. I have friends who identify as like granite rocks and like chlorophyll and shit, So this is me coming out saying I identify as a Black woman.
I'm proud of you, man. I'm glad you're really coming into your own.
Thank you. So thank you for your support, everybody out there. It means a lot to me. So I'm feeling very successful today.
By the way, if I seem like I've been half paying attention, it's because I've been cycling through articles to see if wearing a dashiki is cultural appropriation. And it's hard to say because every article that says it is not really a reputable, like, what is this? Teen Vogue, Medium, Insider.com, Huffington Post, Complex. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't trust them. So I don't know, dude. I guess, like I say, I think it's up to you, listener, to decide whether or not it's good or bad. It's a Schrodinger's dashiki or something.
Yeah, it's like I think it's open to interpretation. I think it depends on the context of one wearing a dashiki, right? Like, are you wearing a dashiki at a like a
Coachella.
rally to bring back segregation, or are you or are you wearing a dashiki to celebrate Black History Month? You know,
Right. Yeah. Even then,
it's
I'll
it's
just
still
say
sketchy.
it's sketchy at best, and I'll just say I'm glad you're in a non-provable situation right now. So you know what? If it is problematic, we're like, oh, it was just a joke, bro. It was just a prank, bro.
Yeah, nobody will ever know, man. This could be
Yeah.
a bit. Nobody would know.
Or Nick's just wearing like a sign that just says dashiki on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, oh boy. Okay, enough backpedaling. Let me read mine. Your ability to find innovative approaches to tasks may serve you well today, Scorpio. Today is full of added energy and mental acuity. You will find that most things come easily. With detail-oriented projects, take extra time to think of the possibilities. Try to see things from all angles. There may be far more choices than you thought. Make the most of this by jotting down your random ideas. I mean, yeah, I was thinking about like starting a journal because it's like, it's like mentally healthy.
You know what else is mentally healthy though that you could do?
What?
You masturbate.
Well, I already do that. That's the thing is I need something a little bit more. And I know some people are going to say, well, then just stop with the jerkin and you'll feel better. Like, bro, we're a year into the pandemic. Like, I already sailed that boat. You remember NoFap comes in and then we all get obsessed with it for like a month or two. But keep in mind, we're still isolated. I think I've seen in just these like past 4 months alone, I've seen maybe 2 humans. Like, your boys, he's gotta survive. So I'm thinking journal is the next best option.
Journal. Oh, hey man, I'm not gonna make fun of you. The only thing I will make fun of you about if you get a journal is if you get one of those ones with like a little lock on it and it's got like a key. It comes with a key and you can unlock it to put your deepest, darkest desires inside of it.
Wow. Well, what I was thinking about doing, because honestly, that's why I never do write in journals, because all it is just a bunch of incriminating bullshit that's just waiting to be discovered. So maybe what I was thinking about doing is maybe doing like, you write a page and then you just go to the fireplace and just set it on fire and burn it and move on. You get your feelings, get your thoughts out, and now it's gone forever.
Very magically inclined thinking, my friend. Very magically inclined indeed. I'm proud of you. Holy shit, that's a big. I didn't even instigate that shit. That's a big step.
That's magical. What?
Yeah, you're putting your feelings and tensions, your thoughts into a physical form, and then you're burning it into the ether, man. Come on, there's literally nothing more magical than that, dude.
Well, call it magic, call it therapeutic. To me, it sounds like a good way to keep it together in the hustle and the bustle of quarantine living, which we're still waiting on those. And even with vaccine, because that's the thing, dude, even though we have vaccines, like that doesn't mean this is going to go away. There's still a pandemic. You could still get sick. I heard a case where somebody, it affected their taste buds so much they haven't been able to eat meat in months because it just tastes like garbage to them.
If I lost my taste buds to COVID, because I've heard similar stories. I've heard stories about people who had got like COVID 6 months ago and they still can't taste anything. Dude, that would be the most bleak existence ever.
Same. I was thinking the same thing, dude. It's just, God, I don't know. It's like, it might not kill you now, but it's still, it's going to be a new normal. It's not going to be, we're not going to go back to the way things were for a very long time. And that's just something we're just going to have to swallow and deal with for a bit.
Yeah, it's a couple things you could swallow and deal with. Hey, how are your how are your stars looking, buddy?
Yeah. Sex is a 3 out of 5. Vibe is a 2 out of 5. Hustle is a 3 out of 5. Success is a 3 out of 5. 3s all across the board. Vibe's a little bit lower than usual. I did show up pretty cranky today, and like my mic wasn't like working, and my speakers were sucking, and I have to return that. I bought a new computer monitor, and then that it ended up being too small, so I needed to return that. And then I realized that fucking Amazon scams you by saying, oh, you can just put the credit right back into your Amazon account. It'll only take like 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, 2 to 3 hours after it ships to them. And then guess what? You're just stuck sitting there. Whereas if I'd have just marked it to go back to my card, I would have been able to buy my new monitor right now.
I mean, hey, that sounds like a big problem, man.
Yes.
But I just watched a 4-hour documentary on AIDS last night. So like your problems are like way low for me right now. You know what I mean?
Is that what built up the confidence to wear a dashiki today? Watching a 4-hour AIDS documentary?
I got this a couple days ago. The documentary, and plus, Tasha, that's very racist of you to assume that they go hand in hand. Although,
oh my God.
In your defense,
yeah.
In your defense, AIDS was created by the government to attack the Black community. I 100% believe that.
And the gay community.
And I 100% believe that, and it's fucked up.
That's how we lost Freddie Mercury and like... No, Elton John's still alive.
Elton John's still alive. Eazy-E, man, he got AIDS.
Eazy-E. It sucks, man.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. But yeah, so that's your defense right there. So I get it. I get the connection you made between the dashiki and AIDS.
Well, thank you. Never thought I would need you to defend my choice of words, but here we are. You know what? We are constantly surprised by the world and what it has to offer.
That's right. Okay, after this has been our longest intro yet. So let's get into the episode. Guys, welcome back. Another episode of Close Encounters for the books. Dashiki Nick here to let you know that today's episode is, again, it's going to be very important. All right. This is 100% a notebooks out episode. So I want you to slap them on the table, get your pocket protectors out, because I know you got them, you nerds. Okay, I know you have pocket protectors with your little pens in them and your little erasers and shit. Just get it all out.
Mm-hmm.
So last week we discussed the roster of the Galactic Federation, and this week we're going to be talking about what all of those species are doing exactly and why a Galactic Federation is important at all in the first place. So, without further delay, I want you guys to meditate, right? Get into a quiet place, somewhere that you cannot be bothered, and then touch yourself just a little bit, right? Touch yourself to get into the right headspace. So you're going to go ahead and just start rubbing that root chakra, right? So ladies,
not enough to be like full on like arousal, but just to, like you said, better headspace.
Better headspace. So ladies, rub your root chakras. Gentlemen, grip it and rip it, right? The ripping and the tearing. Because we're going to just dive right into this shit. All right, I'm excited for this one, guys. You guys already know where this is going. This is going to be fucking sick. First things first, we need to get a quick rundown on dimensions.
Jesus, here we go.
You shut the fuck up. You hold your horses, man, on the judgmental comments in your like backseat, like you know what I mean, dude? Like you're harshing my mellow already, and we're like 25 minutes in.
Yeah, we haven't even started. Great. And now I can't cut it because you gave a timestamp.
Yes. Everything's staying in.
Son of a bitch.
All right, now's the perfect time to put on the blackface then. If this ain't getting cut, I'm doing it.
It's gonna get cut, you fucker.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
But for real, we need a refresher on dimensions. But there is something of note as well that is important to know moving forward. So as we all know by now, there are multiple dimensions and beings who either originate from said dimension or have the ability to hop between them, match, or can match the frequency of that dimension. That's basically how that works. And we all know that. This is simple shit.
Right.
Now remember, all dimensions are run at a certain frequency, and in order to reside or even see these dimensions, the being's frequency needs to match up with it or be greater.
Right. So it's like you got to wiggle at the right timing. Like you got to wiggle right in order to exist in a certain plane.
Exactly. Yeah, your vibrations, the way that your molecules wiggle, everything. It all has to match up with that dimension.
It's kind of like states of matter, where it's like, if it's a solid, you're not wiggling as much. If you're a liquid, you're wiggling a lot more. And if you're a gas, you're like wiggling like crazy, but like just a more bigger version of that.
On a huge scale. Like it's interesting though, because it's on a really big scale, but it's a lot more nuanced than our states of matter. So it's got a lot of nuances to it, a lot of fine-tuned things to look at, but it's also on a huge scale. So it's kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah.
But that's why we don't understand it, because we're dumb.
Well, yeah, the bigger things get, usually the more kind of complicated they can get, because there's a lot more factors to figure out. I mean, that's like gravity in space. Like on Earth, gravity is simple. You throw something up and it falls down. Gravity in space is way more complicated, because it's involving huge, giant bodies of things that just have a gravitational pull and make a bunch of shit that doesn't really make sense at all happen.
Yeah, I mean, that could make sense, but it's also brave of you to assume that gravity exists, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's incredibly brave of me. Almost as brave as wearing a dashiki, despite not being African American or African at all.
Yeah, who would do that, man? Jesus.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Come on. Stop it. Stop wearing your dashikis, all right?
Right. So wiggling dimensions.
Wiggling, matching up with dimensions. Scientists, and I use this word very, very, very liberally, scientists will lead you to believe that before the Big Bang happened, there was nothing, okay? And this is somewhat true. Now, let me explain. There was nothing in the third dimension. However, a lot of other dimensions had already been established by this point, millions, even billions of years. So really, there wasn't anything that we know of as a physical universe until the Big Bang, and that is when the third dimension began. Tasker, I know this is a lot of real science. Are you following so far?
This just sounds like you're just pushing the question back a little bit, because, okay, Big Bang, it happened and we existed, but we weren't the first thing to exist. There was other things that existed beforehand. Then how did they start to exist? It's just, you're just pushing the question back.
Well, that's the thing, is we don't know how they exist, because we're not in contact with those beings for the most part, We're not allowed to be in, and we'll get into why, but we're not mostly allowed to be in contact with them. So we don't know how their dimensions and universes started, but all we do know is ours started about 13.8 billion years ago when the Big Bang happened. That's when the third dimension came to fruition. And what we know as physical reality.
What about the second dimension Big Bang? Was like, that's just the same thing, but just on a piece of paper? Like, like I said, it doesn't really, the Big Bang thing, it's still a thing for other dimensions. They had to start.
Yeah, they did. I'm not arguing that with you. I just don't know how they started. We don't have that kind of information. And also, Tasker, to think that we're going like numerically, right? So we're definitely not going numerically as far as dimensions go. Like, this isn't Sesame Street and you're not the count,
You told me last episode to get on Hooked on Phonics, and guess what? I don't even think they exist anymore. So what's the next best thing, which is Sesame Street?
Okay, I'm glad that you made an effort. All right. But for instance, the dimension before us could have been the ninth dimension that was created, or it could have been the 12th dimension. The second dimension and the first dimension, those are dimensions where we start getting into shady individuals and species. Okay. That's when we start getting into reptilians. And basically, here's how it goes. As a rule of thumb, people, the lower the vibration, the more evil the being.
Really?
Yes. That's why we're third, because we're not very good. We're not a very good species, but we're also not reptilians. You know what I mean?
True. By the way, Hooked on Phonics is still active, and we could get a complete Learn to Read kit for $200.
Hey, man, for you, I think that would be a $200 well spent.
Or for $270, it's on sale too. The Essential Learn to Read bundle with Reading Fun Pack and Lifetime app.
Lifetime app, huh?
We've been saying we should go back to elementary school and relearn some of our some manners and basics. But hey, man, that might be a good. Anyways, we don't need to talk about this. Where were we at?
So I'm just saying. Okay, let's go to the next thing here. So, like I said, Big Bang, boom, third dimension comes into creation. What we as humans know as our reality was created at the Big Bang. Okay,
right.
And since then, As we all know, our universe has been creating and evolving, leading to this point right here, where Tasker and I are talking into microphones. For 13.8 billion years, everything has been creating, things have been evolving, and boom, now here we are.
Right.
So why tell all of you this? Why is this information important? And is it even real? To answer the last question, yes. But why is it important? Well, to be blunt about it, other dimensions had already learned to work together because they've been around, like I said, and they've been established for millions or billions of years. Now, remember what I said last episode, that there are countless federations of interdimensional / extraterrestrial beings out there. So many of them obviously noticed a new dimension being created when the Big Bang happened, aka our dimension. That's something you just don't ignore, right?
Yeah, imagine if you're already interdimensional, just a brand new one coming out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure it's like seeing a tsunami and being like, "Oh, what's that?"
Exactly. You can't ignore it. Our universe being created piqued the attention of the other dimensions out there, the higher dimensions, and the lower, as we'll come to see.
Interesting. By the way, the reason that tsunami reference came because I just learned, actually, I know they were bad, but how fucking big those waves are, dude. Like you're Hawaiian, you know what they are like, right?
Racist, but yes, I do know. I've seen some big waves, not a
Right.
tsunami, but I've seen some big waves. Almost got killed by one once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like a 60-footer. It hurt like hell. And it tumbled me underwater for so long, I actually thought I was going to drown.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So you got my tsunami reference. It ain't nothing to be trifled with. They're giant. It's like the colossal titan.
Yeah, there's yeah. What's a colossal titan?
Yeah. I think you know what it is. You've been around. You're on the internet. It's Attack on Titan.
Oh, geez, man. Come on. You snuck it in like that. So you can't just use specific words. Like you can't use specific names and try and like sneak it under, because you almost got me. I thought you were talking about Colossus from X-Men or something, which would have been still nerdy, but fine. Okay.
Right, a little bit more acceptable in your court.
Yeah, because I can understand what they're saying, right? But then you start talking about, colossal giants and Attack on Titan, and I'm like, come on, man. Like it's an overrated, not very well drawn show.
Right.
And again, with my number one gripe with these cartoons you keep talking about, I can't understand a word they say.
Yeah, because you don't read subtitles. You refuse to, actually.
Yeah, man. I'm not watching cartoons to read, right? I'm literally watching cartoons to avoid reading something.
You know what, man? If you want, I could share my Hooked on Phonics Easy Learn to Read Lifetime app with you if you'd like. And maybe you'll have a more fun time and you could watch more good movies and shows.
I'll only do it if you don't make me watch anime.
That's not going to happen. So,
then keep your app to yourself, all right? Then I don't want it.
I will.
Okay. Well, since many federations were already working together and they've been established for quite some time, they decided to keep an eye on our new third dimension since its inception to see if any beings are worthy of A, creating their own federation, and B, to see which species were worthy of joining said federation or existing federations as time continued and certain species begin to evolve further. Now, after the Big Bang happened, some species began to evolve and establish themselves fairly quickly compared to us, including a lot of the species we mentioned last episode. Remember, there's a reason that I went over the roster last episode, okay? It gives background. It's important information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the big thing, though, the big common factor with a lot of the ones that joined the Federation fairly quickly is not only did they advance really fast, but they managed to achieve a level of world peace. That seems to be kind of the benchmark here. Is once you achieve world peace, you're pretty much okay, if you can be peaceful amongst each other, you could probably be peaceful with other species, and hence joining the Galactic Federation.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll have a little bit at the end of this episode, tips and tricks. It's going to be called Nick's Tips and Tricks to get into the Galactic Federation. So We will get into it a little bit, but you're 100% right. You gotta love each other before you can love others, my dude.
Very very hippy dippy of you, but also very positive.
Thank you. I'm trying to be a more positive person.
Yeah, I can tell you're just reaching out to whatever cultures you can, huh? To do that.
You gotta become multicultural, dude.
That's true.
You gotta be multifaceted, you know?
It's a globalized world, man.
Amen. Okay, so the founders of our Galactic Federation, the Pleiadians, came from a much higher dimension than us. As we all know, remember, we did a two-parter, and you should have taken notes on it. So flip back in the pages of your notebook, okay? The Pleiadians volunteered themselves to create this Galactic Federation since they had the ability to transcend dimensions and interact with the third dimension through light and through soul. They were pretty much the only obvious picks to create a third dimension Galactic Federation, right? That's why they founded our Galactic Federation.
So how nice, because they're fourth dimension, right?
You're close. All right. So the Pleiadians come from the fifth dimension, right? That's the dimension of love and light.
Of course.
So naturally, they're great picks for the third dimension because of their ability not only to their high vibration, but that high vibration leads them to have the ability to transcend to dimensions lower than themselves, including ours, right?
And they just like took it upon themselves to be like, you know what? Third dimension, the 3Ds, they could use some guidance.
You know, it was actually a collective. They volunteered themselves, yes, but it was a collective idea to first create a Galactic Federation for the third dimension. And then at that point, the Pleiadians stepped up and were like, we'll do it. We got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is our calling and we're feeling good. Because you know what? They're kind, supportive people.
Exactly. And they want to see us succeed. So they created our federation. That's where it began. And as time went on, billions of years, certain species throughout our third dimension began to develop and raise their vibrations high enough to be recruited into the Galactic Federation, namely the species we mentioned last episode. And as we pointed out last episode, again, species all throughout the third dimension are still attaining the spiritual enlightenment that is so sought after by the Galactic Federation up until recently. Right, and we saw this as proof with the Bellatricians, the Fomalhautans, and the Minticons, right, who joined like a measly 5 years ago. So they're still recruiting, and societies and civilizations are still hitting that in spiritual enlightenment to this day. It's still happening.
So as we stated last episode, there's still hope for us.
There is hope. There's hope, but it's going to be a long, arduous journey, okay? And I'll get into why. We have some issues as a people.
Oh, I mean, you could just look up Karen compilation on YouTube. You'll see Exhibit A on why we're not in the Federation.
Exactly. Okay. And now, with this background, it leads me into the main agenda of the Galactic Federation. Of course, I'm talking about the third dimension, our Galactic Federation, to be exact. All right, so just like any other Galactic Federation out there, the goal, it seems quite simple on paper. They are to police and guide the dimension and vicinity within that dimension that they are responsible for and preside over. That's what their goal is on paper. Now, it sounds pretty easy, right? It sounds like you kick back, you put your feet up on a table, you know, some calls come in and you're like, oh, yeah, we'll take care of that. You know, it's like, sounds like an administrative job, right?
Yeah, like one big, like, parking lot security office.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. But it's a little deeper than that, man. And there's some nuances that I'm about to get into, all right? So I'm going to slap your brain around with some knowledge real quick, because this is where it gets important. This is where notes need to be taken because there are some things that the Galactic Federation must abide by.
This is what's going to separate them from mall cops and straight up FBI agents, huh?
Exactly. So that's the thing, Tasker. That's a perfect way to put it. Everybody's now thinking, oh, that sounds like a really easy job. Must be like Paul Blart, right? No, it's actually quite detail oriented, and it kind of looks now a little bit more like Jason Bourne. It's a little bit more difficult.
What a difference.
So let's get deeper into the agenda and the responsibility that the Galactic Federation has over the third dimension. Okay. So for our Galactic Federation, their main job is to be responsible for the third dimension and our universe. And the beings, of course, within it. So us and all the other extraterrestrial beings that reside in the third dimension. And there are a lot out there. Trust me, guys. There's a lot of alien civilizations in our universe that our scientists are too stupid to see because they can't create a telescope strong enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So they're kind of like, they're going to protect us whether we like it or not. It's just if we're in third dimension, we're under their jurisdiction.
Pretty much. We don't have a say in that. But it's a good thing. Trust me, it's a very, very good thing that we don't have a say in that because especially Americans, our president would be like, no, we don't need your help. We got this. We can take care of ourselves. And then we'll just get annihilated within seconds.
Right. I was just going to say a lot of this Galactic Federation stuff kind of sounds like pro-American propaganda to me.
How does it sound like pro-American propaganda? Not that it's a bad thing. Like, I'm a patriot through and through.
No, but like, oh yeah, like we're going to police you whether you want it or not because we know best. And whether you think you need it, we know better. Just like, how America does with literally every country. This sounds oddly American, like it was written by an American, like it was written, like it's, not real.
Okay, first off, hostile tone. I'm feeling a little threatened. I'm feeling backed into a corner. And I'm feeling froggy now, okay? Second...
Okay.
Second is, yes, there are some people that say that the Federation is kind of fascist. And I can kind of see where they're coming from. But if you think about the consequences of not having the Federation kind of breathing down our neck, I'd probably take the Federation.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like you were saying, like with America, what they do, and I mean, I don't know a whole lot about this. This is just kind of what I can assume, is that we kind of stick our nose where it don't belong quite often, usually for special interests and stuff like that. What makes this different is the fact that literally the minute they look away, we're just going to get murked by the next closest thing. Which makes me ask then, when this third dimension did just begin, did they implement a Federation like right at the get-go, or were we just getting like shit on by the Reptilians for the first like couple decades, or the third dimension existed?
So how it worked is they kind of waited to see when certain species would start evolving to the point where a federation was justified. So a federation was created long, long ago, but that's only because certain species out there hit a certain point long, long ago where they needed the protection and eventually met the requirements to join. So the Federation's been around for a while, but not immediately after the Big Bang.
Okay. And then my next question is, so things like reptilians and grays, are they third dimension exclusives, or because reptilians, they can dimension hop, right?
Yes, they definitely can. They're not third dimensional. Neither are the grays.
Interesting. So they just as much as the Federation has been sitting in waiting for something to corrupt or take over in the third dimension. And we just got lucky that Galactic Federation jumped in first.
Actually, that's the interesting thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Now, the Federation's been around, but we haven't really been in their eye for that long because compared to a lot of species out there, we are infantile. We are, we just created cell phones like 20 years ago or something, right? Or maybe a little before that, but still, that's, what I'm saying.
We're one out of billions, and we're pretty low on the list because we haven't even reached the flying car threshold or whatever their benchmark is.
We're still using gasoline to move our cars, even though we probably have had the technology to switch over completely. Our human greed is not letting us, right? That's just the way it goes.
I have heard that we have had the technology to implement complete clean energy for like decades. Like it's been available for like 60 plus years, and just, yeah, corporate greed, because they don't want to switch over because they'll make less money.
Exactly. But then you can see, compared to all these stories we hear about extraterrestrial technology and interdimensional technology, compared to what we have on Earth, we barely just got in their sights as far as a species goes. So, so I'm glad you brought up the question as to, did the Federation come in first or did the Reptilians come in first? And unfortunately, it was the Reptilians that came in first. The Reptilians have been fucking with us since day one, right? They've been fucking with humans. They've been enslaving us. They've been breeding. Remember, the bloodlines are breeding with us since the very beginning to create these bloodlines that can be controlled or just have their own sentient thoughts of world domination. So
Right.
unfortunately, and I'll get a little bit more into this later, but unfortunately, to answer your question, Reptilians were here first.
Interesting. So it's not that we're saved, but we do have a lifeline if possible. And we're probably going to get more into that of what happens, how great, because I mean, obviously a lot of this is advertising, how great it would be if we could join the Federation, but also our fate if we are unable to.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Now, notice that I said that they both police and guide as their main objectives, meaning that there are two main responsibilities that they have. And moving forward, I will break down both of these factors in detail so we can get a little bit more clarification on them, okay?
Yeah, so we're going back to Jason Bourne.
Going back to Jason Bourne. This is why it's a little nuanced, okay? So it seems super simple, but here's the issues here.
Okay.
First up, we have the policing factor of the Galactic Federation. Now, what do I mean by this? When you hear the word police, what you think of many things, right? You think of uniforms, probably Rodney King, intervention of crime, just the usual shit, right?
Yes, the usual shit.
Okay, and you think of justice. Some people think of corruption. Some people think of justice. It depends. But you think of a unified body that is in control and in charge of the public and their safety, right? Now, it is somewhat the same with the Galactic Federation. However, there is one stipulation, and it's a very fucking important one. The Galactic Federation is responsible for handling situations and beings which threaten the third dimension, kind of like a galactic police department. However, they are not allowed to involve themselves in our issues. So, wars, genocide, racism, sexism, COVID, Ebola, AIDS, all the hot button issues in 2021 and before, they can't involve themselves in it whatsoever, no matter what.
Okay, so that's what gave them so now they're not fascist anymore, because we're allowed to do whatever the fuck we want. They're just trying to make sure that we don't get blown up by anything else other than ourselves.
Right. So that's why I'm kind of leaning more towards Galactic Federation as being okie dokie, is because, yeah, we don't have a choice of them watching over us in general, but they can't just come in and like end our wars, and they can't just come in and say, hey, no more genocide or we'll kill you guys, which is kind of ironic. Or, they can't stop racism, they can't cure diseases. They cannot get involved with human affairs. Okay, that's a huge
they can't
stipulation.
change our way of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, their sole purpose for policing is usually just outside threats to humanity. Threats which I will get into in a little bit. I will go into detail, but this is just something that to keep in mind is they can't just come down and solve all our problems for us, because then we would be progressing on our own.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, it's just they want people involved. As I'm assuming, they want people involved with them that are like, good because they want to be good, not because they're being told to be good. Because I don't know about you, but I mean, I've known a lot of kids who, followed the rules and behaved, and then they got arrested the minute they had their free will given back to them, or, shit like that. It's like they're savvy enough to be like, you know what? Like, no, we're not just going to let anybody in who says, we promise we'll be good. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Oh, come on, mister. Let me in. I swear I won't do nothing bad. The 60s are over. Okay, they can vote now.
Good God. Something like that, yes.
All right. So now let's get into the next nuanced little thing here. And that is their second responsibility of guiding species, right? They guide different species to spiritual enlightenment. And now, what do I mean by guiding?
Right.
Again, basically, when a species throughout our third dimension begins to develop enough to catch the eye of the Galactic Federation, kind of like we just did, they are now on the radar of the Galactic Federation. And the thing here to remember is that the Galactic Federation, they want all civilizations out there to succeed, man. They're rooting for us. And they want them to reach a high enough level of spirituality to become enlightened and join the Federation, right? So there's not a mean bone in these people's bodies, man. They want everybody out there to be able to join. That's just a simple fact.
What do you think was the event that got us on their radar? Like Obama getting elected or something?
Damn, that's a good ass question, man. That's a really, really fucking good question that I've never really put a lot of thought into.
Yeah, because you just said they only recently were like, maybe. So it must have been something good. I think when Obama got elected, that was the last time collectively the world was like really happy.
Yeah, I think it's a couple. I think it's a mixture of a couple events. So I think it's a general uphill climb in technological ability compared to our past. I think you're right. Maybe it has something to do with Obama, the progressiveness of what happened, right? Even though Obama and his family are reptilians.
Sure.
And so a general, like, people are now also, you have to keep in mind, people are also opening up their minds to possibilities of us not being alone in the universe. And I think as a collective, that looks very good. You know, when people are starting to be like, hey, we might not be the only ones out there. We got to start thinking about the universe like that. And I think that's a big step. And I think that brought a lot of attention to us as a species.
Okay. So it could have been a lot of things, not just Obama being elected, but like just the fact that, you know, especially I think with globalization, I think with people like finally starting to realize like, oh, wait, there's other people who do other things. And just because somebody does a different thing doesn't make them any less human than me. Like we all get hungry. We all stub our toes and hate it. We all feel these things. It's just in different ways and with different like ideas of what polite is. But with that, on top of everything, you know, opening our mind to others is probably getting us closer to opening our minds to stuff even beyond. And that's probably the big thing. Like you said, I think it's less of one event, but more of just like I noticed there's a little bit more positivity coming from this direction than usual.
Yeah, exactly. Fighting for equality, right? There's a lot of that, but that's been happening in the last 6-7 decades or so. And, you know, I'm doing my part, bro. I'm word of the dashiki, right? So I'm intermingling with other cultures. I'm opening up my mind to other cultures. And I think as we get closer to unity as a planet, that's what's really been getting us in their radar.
I see. Oh, okay. Well, cool. Very informative. I wish it was real.
You shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up right now. We just had a beautiful conversation, dude, and you fucked it up, man.
I'm not convinced. I'm sorry. I don't believe it.
I know you don't, but man, we just had a fucking awesome conversation that slowly rose our vibrations, and then all of a sudden, you just dropped us right back down, man.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, I can argue, I could talk about it because I do think that is a neat theory. I do think that would be really cool. And I think that is like all right, something else is like, you know, it feels like, you know, there's like that caste system where, you know, obviously a lot of people on the planet Earth believe in a god of some sort, but it's nice to think about or ponder about if there's like, you know, stuff in between, like higher beings above us that isn't exactly a god quite yet.
Okay, that's fair. You're opening up your mind to the possibilities. I'll take what I can get. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
All right. Well, guys, that being said, once a civilization has caught the eye of the Galactic Federation, the Federation will begin to give a little nudges here and there to that civilization to get them going in the right direction. And I say little nudges because this is where the nuanced part comes in. Now, the amount of actions that they can take to guide species like ourselves in the right direction is a little muddy. And I assume it's somewhat like the policing aspect where they can't really get physically involved, but they can give little hints. They can kind of give us little messages every once in a while. It's like, hey, you're kind of not going in the right direction, or hey, nice job, thumbs up from the Federation.
Mhm. Got it. So they could leave us little clues.
Yes. And they do this in two ways. The first being that they use channelers. Now, we have talked about channelers briefly before on our plate
That's did you just channel right there?
Yeah, that right there was straight Pleiadian, dog. Yeah.
They're giving you, dude, they just gave you a pat on the back right on the air.
Man, I feel ascended. Man, I'm feeling so full of light.
Extra dimensionally, just like give you a rim job or something.
Oh man. All right, let me redo that. All right.
Beautiful.
Okay, guys, but we have talked about channelers on this podcast before, briefly in our Pleiadian series. But I'm going to give just a really quick refresher. It pretty much is what it sounds like. Basically, channelers are humans who have been chosen by certain extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings to give their words and messages to the rest of the humans on Earth. And apparently, their medium of choice is YouTube. Okay?
Yeah. Like our favorite lady who's like, before she started channeling was like, basically saying like, hey, you better buy my book. Otherwise, I'm not going to do this anymore for you guys.
Tasha, you're being judgmental, man.
She's the one who said it, not me.
Well, in these channeled messages, the beings usually speak of living through love, forgiveness, and tips are given on how to ascend spiritually to where most of the rest of our universe is currently at. Because it's no fucking surprise, like we've said, we're a little behind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of us tend to make fun of these people and call them insane, Tasker, right?
Yep.
You call them shim-shammers.
Absolute schmeckeldorfers.
Schmeckeldorfers, right? You call them snake oil merchants. You call them all kinds of stuff.
Peddlers, the whole shebang.
But perhaps we should be listening to their messages with a little bit more trust moving forward. Because if we don't, we're just not going to be getting the hints that they're trying to drop, right? And this is the most that they can do.
Okay, that's like saying like you should like give a little bit of a heed to those like random like Hollywood sidewalk preachers and stuff like that. You realize most of them are just crazy people, right?
Most of them might be, but there's some out there that just make sense. And you'll know when you hear the right channeler and you hear them say the things that you feel like you needed to hear as a human. Maybe there's something to it, man. And maybe they can help us raise our vibrations and get us to a point where we can join.
You sound like you're trying to pitch me into a pyramid scheme.
Do you want to be your own boss? Dude, I have a really good way for you to be your own.
Oh my God. I remember those.
All right. So just keep in mind, guys, maybe not make fun of channelers so much moving forward. Okay.
Sure.
The second way that the Galactic Federation guides us, third dimension Neanderthals, is by using starseeds. And yes, we have done an episode on starseeds. And yes, we made fun of them a lot in that episode. But remember, guys, this is a comedy podcast, okay? No matter how real the topic is, we have to make jokes.
And also, one could argue that not all starseeds are legitimate. Some of them may simply be posing the part, and the ones that are, making their, putting crystals in on their steering wheel and turning them into claymores, or just calling themselves cheating on you because they're a Sagittarius. They might not necessarily be the starseed that you think they are.
That's true, and it's very hard to tell a real starseed on YouTube because there's certain things you have to look for that we've talked about. Go back to the episode, and there's certain personality traits that you just don't get on YouTube because they can edit that shit. So you're right. There's probably a lot of fake starseeds out there too, but again, there's some that are real. It basically, as a refresher, starseeds are the reincarnated souls of extraterrestrial beings into human vessels. Now, most of the time, these starseeds are benevolent, and in fact, a lot of them are sent here specifically by beings in the Galactic Federation to help guide us on Earth. Again, we disregard them because they're usually your local middle-aged white woman that just came from a really good yoga class. But
or really bad divorce.
one or both at the same time, right? But maybe we should start listening to some of them. And I said some of them, not all of them. Because if they're really trying to tell us how we can reach spiritual enlightenment as a species, maybe we should take some of their words of advice into consideration, right? Because they've been there before. If they're reincarnated souls of extraterrestrial beings, they know what it takes.
I'm just thinking of that kid where he's like, on all planes except physical, I am a wolf. And then he like barks.
Yes. Don't bring furries into this, man. This is some legit stuff. He's a Therianthrope furry. Okay.
I think that goes beyond furry even.
Yeah. So that kid is a Therianthrope. Therianthropes are kids who think that they are different animals, right? And thinks that their souls are intertwined with different animals. And that they can do like phantom shifts, right? So like they'll feel like phantom fangs grow when they shift and like phantom tails. It's dumb. It's fucking retarded. I knew one in high school. All right.
Mm-hmm. I bet you can't wait because I don't know what the future holds for us, but something tells me like we're gonna one day we'll have children. Who knows? And hey, Dad, just want to let you know, on all planes except physical, I am a wolf. And I'm gonna be like, okay, well, on all planes except physical, you are now kicked out of my house. So good luck. They're gonna look back and they're gonna listen to that and be like, are you really gonna do it? And you're like, you want to test it? Do it. Go ahead. Tell me that you identify as a ladybug. Go ahead and tell me. But then that kind of brings up the thing is that kind of brings up what we've been talking about, man, is we kind of have to be accepting, right? We have to be one love, right? So if we want to make it into the Federation, right? Right. So am I supposed to stop making fun of furries? Am I harming us right now? Maybe. I don't know if that's a chance I'm willing to take, though, man, because if I don't make fun of furries, who else is going to do it? Because now there's so many SJ dubs out there that are like, you can't make fun of anybody, you can't king shame, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, no, some people just need to get bullied, man. That's just a simple fact. There was a comic about that where it was like this kid, he's like, I used to be like really heavy and overweight, and this like one dude came over to me and he like told me I was like a fat piece of shit and I was just like never going to do anything. So I got really mad. I went to the gym, I worked out, I got really buff and really lean. So what I did is after I finally reached my dream bod, I went to the park. I saw this other kid who just reminded me a lot of how I used to be fat, overweight, not do anything. I walked over. I bullied the shit out of him, calling him a fat piece of shit. And then it's like the next panel is like the kid angrily walking to the gym and it just says, keep on bullying. Hey, there's something to it, man. There's certain people here on Earth that need to get bullied for their own good, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe that furries are part of that. A part of that. I did watch like a 45-minute deep dive on furries the other day. My God, man, they are just the worst type of fucking people out there. I think I remember your last tirade was talking about how much they just like shoot semen all over elevators and just are just complete degenerates. And you know what the sad thing is? You know what the really fucking sad thing is, man, is it didn't start as like a sexual thing. Like it started out like back in the like I think it was the early 90s, late 80s. It was just like a fandom thing when zines were around, you know, like those like independently published magazines for like super obscure fandoms. And they were just like people who liked anthropomorphic animals and like collecting plushies of them and shit. You know, they had like collections. Yeah. And then like whatever. It was like, whatever, man. It's like, yo, that's fine. If that was how it was still, I'd be like, yo, do your thing. It's like collecting Beanie Babies. Who gives a shit? Right. But then all of a sudden, right, there was a new era where they started doing conventions.
And these people, man, they just started going to these conventions and fucking everything up and fucking everything that had a hole and just jizzing everywhere and shitting everywhere like actual animals, dude. And that's just what's taken off. And now when you think furry, you think degenerate. You don't think about their humble beginnings collecting plushies. You think about people coming in elevators and flushing used diapers down toilets and clogging it up.
What is the term? The term is yiffing, right?
Yiffing. They it's so common that they had to make up their own fucking word to have sex with each other in fursuit.
And I mean, I feel bad for there's like you said, they had humble beginnings. I'm sure there's a group of them that are still like practicing true furryism, but
and good for them.
Grossly overshadowed by their unfortunate association to the new movement.
Yeah. Like, again, good for them, man. If they're still practicing and collecting your plushies, do your thing, bro. I don't give a fuck. But I'm sorry that your parade literally got rained on by semen.
And that's I can see you getting like interviewed because, like we said, chances are the Pleiadians listen to our podcast, and that's why they're like, ugh. probably not going to happen because probably on their list is like, all right, now Nick, you can join us, but there's a couple things you're going to need to give up doing. One is you have to take off the dashiki. You must never say a racial slur ever again. And you must be nice to furries. And at that point, you without hold on, like you just immediately just like go off on them.
Now, look here, you Palladium piece of shit. I could have taken off the dashiki and I could hold my tongue. But when you start telling me I need to love furries, that's where I draw the line. As long as furries exist, I don't think we even deserve to be in the Galactic Federation.
So now your supervillain plot comes to light. You think furries are the one thing keeping us from they are the missing link, huh?
And then it all comes to fruition. I've been saying it, man. We got to round them up. And now, if for the greater good of our species, the final solution, if you will, I think we need to gather them up. Hey, they like being animals, right? We can just throw them in ovens and cook them. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, dude. You need to dial it back a bit.
I'm just frustrated, man. I'm frustrated.
Oh my God. See? Oh man. So sorry that this episode is what's keeping us from being accepted.
I'll take the fault. I'll take the blame on this one. All right. That's my bad. But I refuse to say anything good about him. So I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't. So
that's fair. That's fair. Well, that was a great deviation, which I think was very enlightening for all of us.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. Did the lights just go out behind you?
Kind of spooky, huh?
Yeah, is that another Pleiadian sign? Like they put a pinky in the hole at first because you were doing something good, but now that you've been railing on furries for the past 10 minutes, they shut your power off.
Yeah, I don't think they're very happy. I don't think they like all the words that I said and the comparisons, and I get it. I probably shouldn't have done the oven thing, but at the same time, it just made sense because they're like animals,
Yep. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what the oven thing is, that's because we cut it out.
Yeah, but you guys know what you guys know.
You could probably imply what it meant and what Nick was saying and why it didn't make it in.
Oh man, you know what the worst part is too is if we ended up doing that, we'd have to stuff them first.
Stuff them?
Yeah, man.
Furries?
Yeah, if we're throwing them in ovens and stuff,
What? Oh, that's disgusting. Okay, come on.
All right, let's move on.
Gross.
Let's move on. That's gross. I don't even want to. Now I'm the degenerate.
Yep. Spiral, just spiraling like my broken ass toilet.
All right, let's move on from this before we get shut down.
Yeah.
Okay. So before that whole deviation we went on, that was an explanation as to what the Galactic Federation's main responsibilities are and the nuances that come along with them when it comes to the third dimension. let's get into the final section and discuss exactly which threats they're trying to defend us from at this time. Now, naturally, you all know, even Tasker knows where this is going. Okay, Tasker, can you take a deep guess as to where this is going?
It's to fight social. No, of course, it's reptilians.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about social injustice. I'm talking about reptilians, man.
I was going to say socialism, but sure.
Oh, whatever. Sure. Same thing, right? Who gives a fuck?
Sure. But yeah, we giant space lizards that have been are currently trying to kill us at every step of the way.
Yes. Now, people, say it with me. Reptilians. All right, reptilians. This is the number one. This is the big kahuna. This is bad. This is bad news. They're infiltrating us as a species in order to take control of us, farm us like livestock, and take over the Earth. And they will soon move on to trying to take over the entirety of the third dimension. That's their agenda in a nutshell.
Damn. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, considering our place, basically to them, we're just like a pasture of cows that they're just trying to get claim over.
Yeah, we're a stop. We're a gas station on an empty highway, man. We're just a stop on the way somewhere far greater. And it's taken a long time, but they're playing the slow con, as we've talked about, with the bloodlines and the shape shifting and the politicians and all this shit that we've been talking about. For some reason, they chose the long con. And the reason being, remember, we talk about that fear, right? That, oh man, they love that. Oh man, it just seasons us. It seasons us like fine, like think about like fucking a nice ribeye with some rosemary, maybe a little bit of garlic, right? Some butter. We're the ribeye, and our fear is the seasoning along those lines.
Well, that's why they were so happy when Trump got elected, because Trump, we've already agreed that Trump is not a space lizard, but likely was organized to fall into power by space lizards, because it's almost like when you think about like the stress and the fear, that's sort of like, okay, so when it's like, with cows, like, when they raise them, the more relaxed and chill they are, the better they marble up. And like, the food when it comes to the way that reptilians want to eat us, it's the exact opposite. The more stressed and freaked out we are, the more that we get that delicious like A5 Wagyu. So right now we're in like prime, Angus prime, but they're trying to get us to Wagyu. Is that am I correct with that?
Exactly. Very good comparison. They love the fear, man. It makes us taste like so good to them. Like, and I don't know why. Like, to us or to them, basically, when we're full of fear and we're at our max level fear, we taste to them what one furry's best friend's semen tastes like to him, who's also a furry. Just so good, they're so into it.
Just that prime, just exactly what you were hoping for and wanting.
Yeah. So we know what they're trying to do, and they're trying to do this to the rest of the universe, but we're one of the stops along the way. Okay. And here they are, and we're being taken advantage of. But that being said, the Reptilians are the Galactic Federation's main adversary, and they are also the main threat we are currently being somewhat protected from. And I say somewhat because, as we all know, the Reptilians have infiltrated our society through, bloodlines, like I said, vibration puppets, shape-shifting, blah, 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 the great stuff. They were here first. Remember that question you asked that was really good earlier? They were here first, and unfortunately, they've already planted the seed.
So we're trying to just, in the midst of undoing all this reptilian bullshit.
Exactly. And unfortunately, now remember the nuances I brought up earlier. The Galactic Federation is not allowed to intervene here on Earth, right? They can't just come down in their giant light spaceships and beings of light and be like, "Be gone, thoughts." Speaking to the Reptilians, of course. They can't do that. So unfortunately, the battle against reptilians that are already here is up to us for the most part. Now, with outside threats of reptilians, right? So basically, when reinforcements need to be brought onto the Earth, or when they're trying to get more bloodlines started from off Earth, those are the threats that the Galactic Federation could stop. The only ones they can't stop are the ones already being worked on Earth, and that's up to us.
Okay, so basically, reptilians already figured out the loophole of like, if we're already infiltrated, we're already like living amongst them, and they really can't tell the difference. Like, you can't do shit because you can't interfere. But if like they try to pull off a full scale invasion, then Federation can intervene, and that's probably why they haven't done it yet.
Yes. That's a huge reason why they haven't done it yet, because as soon as they start getting their motherships over and they start bringing the army over, once they think it's time, right? Once they think it's harvesting time for Earth, the Federation's just going to fucking annihilate them.
Right.
You know,
unless we disqualify ourselves from them completely. Is that a thing that could happen to us if we get disqualified? Well, no, that's from not joining the Federation. So we might not be able to join them, but they'll still protect us, right?
Yeah, they'll still protect us until I think we've proven ourselves to be on the same vibration as the Reptilians or other enemies of the Federation, right? So if we start, if let's say one day the Reptilians come out and say, okay, guys, we're going to start eating all of you, the ones that are already here on Earth, unless you join us. And if the humans are dumb enough to be like, yeah, all right, let's see what you got. Let's join the Reptilians. The Federation's going to be like, well, you fucked up. And now they're not going to help us at all. So,
yeah. And then we're just going to get eaten anyways, because they wanted us to say, we'll join you. So that way the Federation doesn't protect us anymore. And then that's the invasion that you've been worried about for years.
Exactly. Boom. You're thinking like a reptilian, and that's kind of scary, but you got the right idea.
Sure.
So interesting. Yeah, interesting idea, Tasker. It's sketchy. And so, like I said, we have the burden of defeating the infiltration here on Earth. But with the help of the channeling messages and through Starseeds, they can give us tips. That's why we got to stop making fun of them. That's why we got to start taking them seriously. They can give us tips as to what to do on Earth.
Right. Wow. The burden of knowledge, huh?
The burden of knowledge. So, there is one more threat that is happening in the third dimension and here on Earth, of course, that the Galactic Federation is aware of and trying to put an end to somewhat. And this threat is, of course, it has to do with those slimy grays, right? Those almond-eyed shaped, no nose having, 3 foot tall, skinny ass, big head having assholes, right?
Yeah, exactly. The classics, the ones that make it on all the merchandise.
Exactly. Now, as we know, the Greys are a bunch of sadistic nerds, right? That's the best way to put it. They love probing places that probably shouldn't be probed, and they have like an affinity for science, and that's why they're doing it. It's super weird. They abduct people and perform questionable experiments on humans. We all know this. And remember that treaty, right, that was signed by Eisenhower that allotted them a certain amount of humans per year in exchange for technology?
Yeah, it was on our American Presidents and Extraterrestrials episode, right?
Yes, we covered it. We covered it a little bit there, and I think we also talked about it on our Greys series, our intro to the Greys series.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So that treaty has been far exceeded, of course, right? It's like that book, you give a mouse a cookie and he wants a milk, or I don't know. It's one of those, you know what I mean, right? I haven't been a kid in like 20 years. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, they're like, to us, we're just like a big old bowl of Rice Krispies. How much can you fit on your spoon,
Yeah, because they're like signing a treaty, and the Greys are like, yeah, we're definitely going to let a bunch of monkeys tell us what we can do. Yeah, that's for sure. And they followed it for a year, and then all of a sudden, boom, skyrocketed, right? Abduction skyrocketed. The amount that they were allowed to take far exceeded. The Greys didn't give a fuck about how many people they were taking and what they're doing to us, right? But guess who does care, Tasker?
You do.
I care. I totally care, man. My butthole's sacred. You're not touching it, buddy.
Right.
But who else cares, right? The Galactic Federation cares. In fact,
that's a funny way to say nobody.
No, hey, you shut the hell up, man. They're real. You are just bringing it down, dude. You're ruining our chances.
So are you with the fucking opinions you have about furries and other people.
Look, yeah, I know Pleiadians are all high and mighty, but I bet you if they ever met a furry, they'd say the same shit. I bet you anything. anything, dude.
Might be so bad. They might, well, if what you say is correct and furries are on the vibrational level of reptilians, you might have a case.
Exact. What if we can get, see, now I don't even have to get my hands dirty then. The Pleiadians can do it.
Good Lord Almighty. All right. So Galactic Federation, they care.
Okay, so they care and they cared. In fact, the Galactic Federation cares so much about this broken treaty that the only time that they have ever physically gotten involved with affairs in the third dimension was to basically give the Greys a slap on the wrist for breaking the treaty and abducting and experimenting on far too many humans. So they've actually intervened once in their existence, and it was this time.
Wow, look at us, man. Us as a species, we got the GF to do something against their rules.
Nice, right? But they cared enough to intervene, and since then, you've noticed that either the abductions have gone down, or people just aren't reporting them as much. But there is a decline in abduction and UFO sightings since their peak in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Right?
Yeah, that strangely lines up with the increase of cameras and technology and being able to record things properly, huh?
I think it's just a coincidence, man, and I think you're being a hater. You're being a hater. Hater.
Call it what you will, but I just think it's a little bit interesting.
Now, something to keep in mind here is that the humans are not the only species that the Greys are abducting and experimenting on. This is happening all around the third dimension, primarily to beings that are either around our level of development or behind us in development. And the reason behind this is, okay, Greys are hyper intelligent. They are telepathic. They're interdimensional. They look at us like rats in a lab. They look at almost every single species in the third dimension as rats in a lab because they're so far advanced than us. And we're toys to them, basically. But they've gotten a slap on the wrist, right? And now they have their first strike. So essentially, the Galactic Federation has the Greys in their sights, right? And the Greys have their first strike from the Federation, but they are not seen as great of a threat as the Reptilians are for the time being.
So they're not part of the Federation, but they're not full-blown enemies of the Federation, but they got a couple more strikes until they are.
Exactly. They're in somewhat negative neutral zone right now. So if they keep fucking up, they're going to be on the same level as the Reptilians.
Got it. So hot water.
Hot water, man. They're in hot water.
Damn.
So let me conclude this by just coming out and saying that our species is dumb. Okay. We are unable to protect ourselves from threats that come from other worlds and dimensions. I mean, dude, for fuck's sake, we can't even feed our own people properly, right?
Yep. Even though we have all the resources for it.
We have the resources, but we either A, use the resources for other things that get us money, or B, our buddies, the Reptilians, don't let us. Because they tell us that there's droughts when there's no droughts, and they tell us that there's a corn shortage when I know that there's not a corn shortage. Nobody eats corn, bro. We could be sending corn down to Africa, and they'd be awesome. They'd be happy with it. You know what I mean? But no. There's a corn shortage. Yeah, tell Nebraska that, dog. I've driven through Nebraska.
There's a lot of fucking corn. In fact, I would say we probably have more of a surplus of corn than anything else, to the point like that's why they use corn oil in like everything, and they use it in like animal feed, even though they're not supposed to, because it's like really sugary and stuff like that. But no, yeah, we got a lot of it.
Yep, and we refuse to help people out with it. So that's one of the big issues we have going on for our people. So with all that knowledge of us being dumb, how the hell do we even get accepted into the Galactic Federation at this rate? To be frank with you, Tasha, I'm going to be 100% up front with you, buddy. It's not going to be easy, and we have a very, very long road ahead of us. Now, first and foremost, we need to raise our vibrations, man. I've been saying this since the inception of this podcast. That is the number one thing we as a people can do to up our chances of getting in.
Gotta up those wiggles.
Get the wiggles. Maybe the band even, man. Bring them in, you know? fruit salad and everything. I don't give a fuck. If it raises the wiggles, let's do it. Now, the things that can help increase our vibrations include stopping war and trying to settle issues like big boys diplomatically, using renewable resources constantly and frequently, meditating as a species to join the collective unconscious, decalcifying our third eyes as a species. Tasker, new segment. Tasker, give us a checkup on how your decalcification's going. Have you been taking any steps?
I only took 2 showers this week. Let's see. The coffee I had this morning was filtered water. Did I have any citrus lately? I had a chicken. It was chicken cooked with garlic and lemon this week.
Oh, fuck, man. Good for you, dude. God damn, that's some pretty good progress.
In a way, I suppose, but I do need to take a shower today, I think. So, sorry.
Just keep your head out of the water. You'll be fine, man. Just keep it out the door, you know?
I'll attempt to install my head doggy door.
But hey, I'm proud of you. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Good checkup. Good checkup.
Yep. I'm doing all right.
And lastly, in general, just finding ways to find our unique spirituality as a whole. And something else that can increase our chances of getting into the Galactic Federation is by bringing something to the table. It's as simple as that. Now, remember last episode when we were talking about each species, and remember at the end of each species, I was like, what do they specialize in? What got them accepted into the Galactic Federation? Remember, they were like explorers, there were scientists, psychologists, all this stuff. But that's what I mean is we as a people don't have anything like that. I mean, sure, we have a bunch of people on Earth that are good at some of those things, but we don't have a thing that we are good at as a collective species that is of value to the Galactic Federation, right?
Yeah, like we're good at being stubborn, but like that doesn't really do much because we're only really stubborn about ourselves. Like the whole thing about being human is like, I'm great and fuck you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not a lot of value for the Galactic Federation with that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to find that one thing, man. There's that one thing that every human on Earth can get together and do very well. That's something we need to find. Yeah, it's going to take some time. Remember, this is a long road, man. That's a long journey.
Yeah, that'll be interesting if we can ever stumble on that.
So along with discovering our spirituality, we need to discover what we excel at technology-wise as a species as well. Now, I will admit that these two things I mentioned are much easier said than done, especially when you consider the fact that our progress is being purposefully and successfully hindered by the reptilians and their presence and agenda on Earth. It's just a matter of life, and it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But with the help of the Galactic Federation and their messages through channelers and the Starseeds that they send here to help us, eventually, I believe, we will be able to attain the proper enlightenment to join the Federation. But just give us a few million years, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, let's hope our planet can survive that long because we have more than 1 million years, right? Before the sun explodes or before it runs out and all that shit.
Yes, we have time, dude. We have time, but we have to start making moves, dude. Because, like you said, the clock's ticking. As soon as the sun explodes or whatever. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. As soon as it expands and then engulfs us, the clock's over. We lost our shot. So if we can do it before then and maybe repopulate and colonize somewhere else with the help of the Galactic Federation, then we're fine. But if we keep fucking up, then we're just going to kill ourselves. So
you think when that happens, would it be like, I mean, because when you think being consumed by the sun, it would be like instant, but like, you think it would just like slowly expand. So it's like, you know, we'd probably quickly everything would dry out before we'd just be like engulfed in flames, you know?
I like to think that it'll be like kind of slow, like not super slow, but it'll be like, hey man, it's kind of hot. And then all of a sudden, like we're like dehydrated within a second. because all of the water in our body evaporates, and we're just like
Oof.
crumbs, right? We're just like crumbs on the ground, dude, and then we die.
So it's like being locked in a hot car in like 100-degree weather, except globally, we're not in a car at all.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, like as much as I'd like to believe it'd be like an instant like whoosh. Also, too, it's like it's the sun, it's going to take a while for it to reach us.
Yeah. It's going to suck, man.
Yeah, good thing well, okay, I hope I don't. We're definitely not going to be around for it, but knowing our luck, we'll probably get reincarnated right in that fucking era where it happens. And we're like, I don't know why, but I had a feeling this was coming.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, if we get reincarnated and we're right in the era where that's going to take place, I'm going to first off say I'm super disappointed in the human race that we haven't been saved by the Galactic Federation yet.
Yep.
We've been given it millions of years and we haven't made any progress, really.
Pretty weak, guys. Pretty weak.
But guys, that was it for part 2 of the Galactic Federation of Light, the agenda. My God, it's important that we know these things because now we can start working towards gaining acceptance. And now you know who's fighting for you out there.
Yeah, and whether you believe it or not, I mean, it's not like the worst idea in the world to be like, hey, how can we like unite better? And how can we figure out how to like it's tough because getting rid of like the people that are fucking everything up for all of us, it's like there's always it's gonna get like it might be cool for a while, but there's always gonna be some shithead that's gonna fill in, be it the next year, be it in the next 20 years. I mean, dude, fucking America was founded on like that badass like rebellion, like fuck yeah, I do it because I want to. And you know what? We were rolling for a little while. Like, I mean, granted, like at first because our nation was barely struggling to like stand on its own 2 feet. But then once we finally got things working, like, dude, America was a chill ass place. But then, once we got power, once we got comfy, that's when we got shitheads taking office and we got a bunch of bullshit happening. And it goes back and forth. It's just, we got to find a system that can account for that. And I don't know what the fuck that's going to be, but you know what? If we do find it, maybe your fucking weird theory about it, some aliens from light will appear and be like, hey, you guys did it. You passed the test. Took you like 500,000 years, but good job.
Yeah, I'd like to think that it'll happen. It definitely won't happen in our lifetime, but it'll happen.
Hell no.
It'll happen, man. And we'll get there. And, I don't know. I think, I think that our future selves, our race, as our species will be saved at some point if we could just start getting along. If we could stop with the hate, if we could stop with the war, man, and maybe if we bring Woodstock back, that would help to, unite a bunch of people, man. So, let's bring it back.
Curious. We'll see if maybe Woodstock 2 will be the next big leap that we need. But until then, thank you all for listening. And by the way, if Woodstock 2 did happen, you know that Nick and I will likely be there. And probably under heavy influence of something, I imagine, right?
I will be so drugged up. Dude, if they bring Woodstock back, I'm going to be dropping all kinds of hallucinogens. I'm wearing my dashiki, and I don't care what music is playing. I'm going to have my AirPods in with Psytrance, and I'm just going to be dancing around, dude. I'm not going to be listening to any of the other fucking musicians. It's going to be awesome, dude. It's going to be just off the chain.
Just tripping in on your own silent disco in one of the most historical concerts of the planet, huh?
Yeah, because honestly, let's be real. Let's be real, man. If Woodstock comes back, we know who the lineup's going to be, right? It's going to be fucking Dorian, Electra, and Rebecca Black, and all these hyperpop people, and it's going to be fucking Lana Del Rey and all this bullshit. No, because it's kind of like Coachella, right? Coachella used to be a place of fun, new music, and you could discover bands there, right? Now it's a place of 55-year-old rappers coming back and doing songs from 30 years ago, and it's a place where old bands and groups come and do shows again, and it's super annoying. And we need a Woodstock that's full of hippies, man. We need a Woodstock that's actually made to help raise vibrations of everybody there collectively. Dude, what if we did that?
That could be a good benefit thing. That's how the Close Encounters presents Woodstock 2.
Woodstock 2 Electric Boogaloo. Where we just-
Hey, maybe someday. Maybe someday.
Oh, that'd
So
be
we'll see.
awesome, dude.
Hey, man, if Mr. Beast can get to the point where he can make his own restaurant line, we could make it Woodstock 2.
Yeah, one day we'll do it, man. And you and I will be tripping too much to interact with fans, but we'll just kind of be in a corner somewhere, and everybody
we'll be
will
a
have
mess.
a groovy time. Yeah, it will be a huge. I'll buy you a dashiki for it. It'll be great, man.
Thank you. Yeah. So if you ever find us at Woodstock 2, we'll be in the corner we'll be the unresponsive two sitting down in dashikis whenever you try to approach us, and we just completely don't acknowledge you at all.
It's because I'm living in the fifth dimension when I'm on that shit, man.
Feel free to check our polls. I can guarantee, hopefully, that it will still be there. So, but of course, if we are going to be out of commission, to experience further dimensions, that means the job of keeping Count Chocula watch is on you guys. You're going to have to keep an eye out, because if we're going to go exploring through our neurons, you got to look at, because he'll be there.
Yeah, the second we let our guards down, he's gonna swoop in. And look, guys, it's just like anybody, right? If Tasker and I are taking hallucinogens, you need to babysit us, and that also means you need to keep us safe from Count Chocula, because the second we are in a different state, he's gonna come in and try and get us.
Oh yeah, because he knows. Like, that's the thing. We've been doing this podcast for a while now. We've built up the mental defense where it's this sort of, almost, you can call it like an aura we have around us, and that's been really frustrating to Count Chocula. That's been because he knows that we're starting to figure it out, especially because you all remember, forever ago, the issue with the hard drives and stuff, and like that was really bad, and like we kept losing all the files. Like we've been saying, we're learning and we're figuring out newer methods, and a lot of it was just we had to take a little internal look in ourselves, and we had to be a little bit more psychic about it.
Yeah, our aura that we've discovered through meditation to protect ourselves from Count Chocula is kind of like Magneto's helmet, right? It doesn't let Professor X in, so he can't get in yet. But as soon as we start dropping acid and taking shrooms and shit, it's all downhill. So we need you guys on full defense. If we ever do that at the Woodstock 2, please save us from Count Chocula.
Yeah, big vulnerability. Absolutely. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for looking out for us and being the great, swell, attractive people that you are. If you are listening on iTunes, if you could please hit us with a 5-star rating review, that would be amazingly helpful. Spotify, you could click that follow button. We have new episodes every single Wednesday, as usual. Instagram is at CEOTPK. Our YouTube is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind, where you can find all of our episodes except for Bill and Hillary Clinton Part 2. Twitter at CEOTPK1. Facebook, Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. You can email us, CEOTPK1@gmail.com. Discord is discord.gg/lowercase b, number 6, capital C, capital T, number 5, capital M, capital X. Coffee is ko/fi.com/CEOTPK. All of these links, however, will be on our Discord and also on our Facebook. So if you need just something to click on, nice and easy. And yeah,
thanks for listening, guys. We like you a little bit. Just kidding. We love you.
Oh no, don't play coy anymore, Nick.
All right.
They're here for us.
All right, I'll stop playing coy. God, all right. I love you guys.
Playing
so
hard
much.
to get. Yeah. Your old high school dating mentality kicked in for a little bit, huh?
It did. It used to work, man. It used to work. It used to be like, nah, I don't know, man. I'm not really into it. And they'd be like, oh, come on, man.
Adulthood changes you, man.
No, but seriously, thanks for listening, guys. We do appreciate it. Again, Cena Jump. And for all you new listeners out there, thank you for checking us out, giving us a chance. You won't regret it.
We see you.
You might regret it.
Just like the ever so slightly. Yeah, we see you just like the FBI sees all of us, whenever we do weird things on our phone.
Yeah, except for me. I'm protected. All right, I have 2 layers of security, man.
Good luck. I'm behind 3 VPNs.
3
proxies.
Yeah, 3 proxies. Thank you guys for checking us out if you're new, and for all of you beautiful returning people, thank you. Hopefully this was an informative episode for you. Make sure it's in your notebook, and just remember that if you think that our human race is ready for the Galactic Federation or not, the truth is out there.
Yeah, I think just listen. If you just rewind to the bit about the furry thing, you'll see why it's just not going to happen. It's not. The fuck are you doing?
Sorry.
Is there anything else you wanted to fill it in with that?
Yeah. Let me think.